Howdy, hotshots. It's the Dividend Daddy, your favorite, not a financial advisor with not financial advice. I want to talk to you more about car payments and cars. I just heard today, big old too big to fail Ford is going to get us into a heap of problems, and you're going to be left holding the bag. They're going down a path that's going to lead them directly to a bailout, because we all know that companies that take huge financial risks that are outside what they should be doing get bailed out by the government, which means it gets bailed out by us, bailed in by our bank accounts, whatever method they choose to use to keep that company from going under. And Ford is careening right down that path. Now, I don't think it was right in 2008 when they had the bailouts and they bailed out GM and Chrysler. Ford didn't take a bailout. Now, Ford has a sordid past, so I'm not trying to say they're some kind of moral giant in the industry. They were supplying vehicles to Nazi Germany, and they've taken advantage of their customers and taken advantage of their employees. And trust me, I don't think that they are like morally superior to others, but they were behaving in a more responsible fiscal sense recently than GM and Chrysler were at that time. Now, I don't think it's right to bail out businesses that have gone above and beyond and extended themselves beyond their means or capabilities of repayment. And the reason that I don't think that's right, in addition to the fact that they're stealing from us, is that they're stealing from their competitors. When they're behaving in a fiscally irresponsible manner, and they are taking outsized risk, they are pocketing all the proceeds from those gains. And when they go belly up, that is their competitor's opportunity, okay, to take advantage of the fact that they were behaving more fiscally responsible and being good stewards of their company name and their wealth and the government handouts, okay? When a company goes belly up, when we let them fail like they should, it is the opportunity of their competitors to pick up customers and pick up talent, okay, and reduce their costs because now they have less competition. But when the government steps in with yours and my money and they bail those companies out and claim that they are, quote, too big to fail, they have stolen not just our money, but that other company's opportunities. And by stealing that other company's opportunities, it is a slap in the face of their fiscal responsibility. And now they are left holding the bag. Okay, they're the only ones that don't get a bailout, but they didn't reap all of the fortune in the same way that all those that were behaving risky did. And so they have had opportunities stolen from them. And since they are now the bag holder, it lets them know that they shouldn't behave responsibly in the future. Instead, they should hand out risky loans, and they should advertise too much and spend too much on R&D and just go above and beyond without any idea of risk tolerance, because the government will bail them out using your money. So they turn fiscally responsible companies into egregious actors, if I'm using that word correctly. They make them behave in such a manner that is not beneficial to society, because if they don't, then they can't compete and they don't get the benefits of the companies that did not behave in a manner that was beneficial to society. So I do not like bailouts if even for reasons outside of my own costs. I don't like the bailouts because it isn't fair. And I like fairness. So now Ford has come out with a program that, regardless of your credit, see, they can't sell cars. We were talking about this the last couple days. They can't sell cars. Cars are just stacking up on the lots. Electric cars aren't selling because that rebate's going away, which should have never existed. If the market can't support selling an item, they don't need to be subsidized for it. They just don't sell it. They'll have to come out with something better or something cheaper. But that rebate is going away. So there was a ton of new car sales to take advantage of that rebate right before it went away. But after that, can't sell anything. Cars are too expensive. The average car payment is over $600 at this point. I think for new cars, it's like $750, and for used cars, it's $550, and the average is somewhere around $630. But there's more used cars sold than new cars, so we'll just say around $600 is the average car payment. People can't afford it. They can't even afford a double cheeseburger meal at McDonald's, and yet they're affording $750 a month car payments. And let's not forget what other $750 a month car payments come with. They come with added insurance costs, right? Like if you have a brand new car, your insurance is super expensive. So people pick on me sometimes at work. People are driving new Teslas and they're driving new Mercedes, and I'm driving my old Subaru that I had inherited from my wife when I got her another vehicle, which I paid cash for. And why are you driving that old car? Why you have to fix your car this weekend? Why are you doing that? Well, because car payments make you broke. Okay, I was paying less for. I've had mortgages that were less than a $750 a month car payment. Okay, mortgages on properties that I owned, less than the car payments that people are paying nowadays. It literally doesn't even make any sense. Now, if I was 100 years old, okay, I know I'm close, but I'm not quite there. If I was 100 years old and I made some comment like that where I owned a home 80 years ago and I made a lower payment than the car payments nowadays, that would make sense. But I'm not that old. Like when I graduated high school, I made the same mistakes as everybody else. I was selling cars, and I went and got a new car. Just had to have a new car. And it wasn't long till the newness wore off, right? Like after I had it for a month or two, it's just my car. It was a pickup because I'm a pickup man, but it's just another vehicle. It wasn't new anymore. I promise you now, when I go and detail my car, my Subaru with 173,000 miles on it, when I go detail it, clean the windshield, vacuum the carpets, I feel like I'm in a new car. Okay, so as long as that thing will keep running and take me back and forth to work where I make my money, and as long as I can use it for my beach bomber and don't care if it gets dirty or whatever, I can park it in the parking lot and I don't have to worry if somebody dings the door. Like there's a lot of advantages. Now I understand, if you're a young stud and you got to have a nice car to attract you a lady friend. All right, I understand that, but I got my woman. I don't need to do that anymore. And really, that's not the kind of woman you want anyway if she's just after you for your nice car. But I know it helps. I know it's tough out there. But having a $750 a month car payment and another $200 a month in insurance, it's going to make you broke. You need to be buying assets that produce you money, not just cost you money. And so it's, if I was paying $600 a month for a car payment, instead I put my money in QQQI and compound it monthly. Okay, I'm putting $600 a month in, and it's compounding at 14% monthly. After 10 years, I have like $165,000, and I can get $22,000 worth of income off of that in perpetuity. All right. So people say, "Daddy, you're rich. Why don't you have a nicer car?" I don't need a nicer car. It's not going to do me any good. Like if I was in sales, if I was a real estate agent or something, I was driving customers around to properties, I understand that's like a business expense, right? That's one of the things that's going to make you money. If I was a real heavy hitter financial advisor, I'm not a financial advisor, but if I was, maybe you want a Jag in the parking lot so that when people come in there, they think you're making a bunch of money for you and your customers so that you can sell more investments, right? But if you've just got a regular job where you don't have to worry about your image, then you don't need these $100,000 cars, okay? You don't need them. All it's doing is giving you a bunch of opportunity lost. It's sucking up your money and it's sucking up your time. You read that Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've never read it, but I've seen clips from it and I've seen videos about it. And he says, buy things that make you money. All a car does is cause you stress and take your money. You could be rich. And so people having these big car payments is making the country broke, okay? People can't afford their house payments. They can't afford their car payments. They can't afford to eat at frickin' McDonald's. I've got Target stock and it's in the crapper. And why? Because people are shopping at Walmart instead because they can't even afford to shop at a decent store like Target, right? They got to go to Walmart. I go to Walmart because I'm a cheapskate. But most people don't like to be as cheap as Dividend Daddy does. And so they want to shop at Target, but they can't afford it right now, right? They can't afford to get their coffees at Starbucks. Everything's going down. And they can't afford the cars that they're buying either. Repos were up like 16% in 2024, which was like 46% higher than it was in 2022, I think. And now they're saying that it's going to be even 5% higher in 2025. And I think that's a fake number. I think it's going to be a lot higher than that. Real estate is going down everywhere. If real estate's going down, I guarantee people aren't paying for their cars. And if you have to run a program like Ford, where you're taking anybody that you can, those cars, half the people that go in there and get a loan, regardless of their credit, they're not even going to pay the first payment. They're going to go in and get a car, and the first payment's going to be due 45 to 90 days out. They're not even going to pay the first payment. And you and I are going to be left holding the bag. And those repos are going to mount, and Ford is going to run into problems, and the government's going to say, well, they're too big to fail, and they're going to bail them out and crash the economy when they do so. Okay, but then after that, guess what? Money printer go brrr, and because they're bailing out all these companies, it's just going to skyrocket again. So the best that we can hope for is that when all of these companies hit a wall like they're headed for at 90 miles an hour, is that there's a big dip that we can buy into. That way we get to ride the next wave up. Because at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it's just print money into oblivion. And that is the government's plan to erase our debt. Because they can't just say the US government is not going to pay their debts. But what they can do is inflate it away and make it worthless. And so unfortunately, what that does is just like the too big to fail banks and the too big to fail automakers, it creates generations of fiscally irresponsible consumers because they know, or they can figure out, they buy all this stuff on credit and then they don't pay for it, and they'll still get more credit and they'll still go buy more. And their credit essentially goes down and down and down in value because of all the inflation, right? So I'm not going to do that because I think being in debt is being a slave, right? And it's very stressful for me. So I don't like to be in debt, and I'm not in debt. I don't like that. I'm not going to do it. I save up money. If I don't have cash to pay for a car, I ain't buying that car, okay? Now, I'm not a fool. If I go to buy a car and I can get 0% interest, and I'm choosing to either pay cash or get 0% interest, clearly I'm going to get 0% interest because then I can put the money in an interest-bearing account, if nothing else, and get a little bit of return on that while I pay for the car. But really, I'm not going to wind up having the opportunity to get 0% because I'm not buying a new car. And they don't give 0% on used cars because they don't have those kind of promotions. The factories and the automakers and the auto credit lenders don't have that kind of promotion. So if you're buying a used car that's already depreciated, like you normally should be, now I know there are some circumstances where that's not the case, but typically you should be buying a used car, and you should be buying one that is relatively low miles, but it's 8 or 10 years old, so all this depreciation has already come off of it, and it's a dependable car. Okay, and I'll tell you what, these new cars aren't dependable anyway. I mean, you got Chevy Tahoes that are just blowing up right off the lot because of their stupid variable fuel management system that they haven't been able to get to work since the 70s when they started trying it with Cadillac. Chrysler hasn't been able to get it to work. Ford hasn't been able to get it to work. GM hasn't been able to get it to work. Oh, but let's just keep trying and keep ruining our brand and our vehicles. You know, the golden age of cars was like 1995 to 2005. Man, you could get those cars and they were just bulletproof and they would last forever. But they're getting old now, and so you'd have to restore one, and they're expensive. People have realized how great they were, and so they're buying them up and making them too expensive to make it worthwhile. But then they started with their planned obsolescence. So like prior to that period, they didn't have machining capabilities and metallurgy capabilities and manufacturing processes that made cars good enough to last that long. After that period, they have planned obsolescence where they're making junk that you can't fix, and they're making parts that break, that go obsolete and you can't find. and they make the cars have to get replaced. It's just like the ink in your printers. You can't just refill it. You got to go buy another ink because they program it to stop working, and they program the printer to stop working after it has so many pages printed, and they program my iPhone to quit making my left AirPod work, okay, because I didn't want to download the new software program. And they make my iPhone get hot when it charges because my iPhone's an iPhone 13 and they want me to have a 17 or 25 or whatever number they're on. So get yourself something that doesn't cost you a ton of money every single month. Keep it maintained. Keep it looking decent, okay? And don't squander your fortune on cars. You can learn how to fix anything on YouTube too. You don't have to go pay $130 an hour at the shop for the shop rate when you can fix it yourself in less time than it takes you to take it to the shop, okay? I just did the back brakes on my Subaru last week. It took me less than an hour probably, okay? But if I took it somewhere, it's $300. And I know some of us live in an apartment and we don't have anywhere to work on the cars. That happened to me for a couple of years, like the last couple of years. I had to take my car in and get the front brakes done on it because I lived in an apartment. I didn't have anywhere to put it because I've been moving around the country a lot. And so I just had an apartment and I didn't have anywhere to work on it. I had to pay them $300. I got pads off Amazon for $18 and changed it in less than an hour the other day, saving like $280. Okay, so learn how to do a little bit of work on stuff yourself. Go to YouTube. It's the best, it's the best way that I've ever gotten an education. Anything I want to learn, I can learn immediately. Keep your cars longer than you have been. Pay cash for them, and take the money that you would have spent on extra insurance on your car payment and put it away in something that's going to help you quit working at some point in time, okay? I know a lot of you out there already know this, okay? But if there's any youngins watching my videos, so it's a little bit of fatherly advice. Dividend Daddy here, he has all of the cheap vodka he can drink. He has all of the Pall Malls he can smoke. His account goes up and down every day more than his car is worth. But guess what? I'm not big pimping it in a Cadillac Escalade, all right? Because it just squanders all of your worth. I'd much rather not work in 5 or 10 years than I would continue working forever, but I've got a real nice car to drive to work, right? Doesn't make any sense. All right, I'll talk to you D-Gens later.